campus yet because we're not allowed to, but groups who come in are allowed to at least strongly encourage the wearing of masks. And so if you feel comfortable doing so, please continue to do so. My name is Kelly Dampus. I'm the Chancellor here at Arkansas State University. It's my pleasure to welcome you here to this great event. We're going to unveil the strategic plan for Jonesboro Unlimited. There's this old saying about if you aim at nothing, you're sure to hit it, and that's why strategic planning is so important. We developed our strategic plan for the university called Discover 2025 in the year of 2019. And our plan was to unveil it in an event much like this with balloons, I think, was part of the plan and the band, on March 24th, 2020, which was my birthday. And of course, COVID-19 hit us then. I remember praying, someday we'll have a vaccine, we won't have to worry about this and we'll deal with it, but we're dealing with it still. But we had to roll our strategic plan out kind of undercover. We put out a press release and did this, but it's nice to be able to come together, actually see it, and to be in the same room. We learn more about what our plan will be here in Jonesboro. When I came here for my job interview and then when I had my opening press conference, there were questions about the role between Jonesboro and Arkansas State University. And it's normally called the town and gown relationship. And I dedicated myself then and our university then to making sure we do everything we can to have a strong relationship, because I truly believe that as Jonesboro rises, Arkansas State rises, and as A-State rises, Jonesboro rises. So we are indeed joined at the hip. So it's our pleasure to welcome you to our campus, and I'm excited about this morning. So without further ado, I'll pass it off to our leader.
When you build momentum, it's hard to stop. And in Jonesboro's case, why would we want to? 4,000 new jobs and $500 million in capital investment across our targeted industries in 4 years of Jonesboro Unlimited's first 5-year strategic plan. Challenges met. Goals exceeded.
When we set those goals initially, we wanted them to stretch us a little bit in terms of meeting those goals and helping companies create over 2,500 jobs in 5 years. We knew would make a significant difference. And we felt very comfortable that we would achieve that. To achieve that in 3 years was something that we couldn't have predicted.
Since we unveiled our strategic plan in 2017, we have seen major expansions of existing Jonesboro facilities. 3 new factories built and 2 more currently under construction. A multi-million-dollar grant for a new rail storage facility, a new solar farm in development, massive growth in our ever-expanding medical community, a one-of-a-kind data center, and hundreds of millions of dollars in infrastructure improvements. The foundation for this growth was laid by the investment of community-focused companies and individuals, people who believe in Jonesboro's unlimited potential. We call it Momentum Jonesboro, a proactive response to opportunities and challenges.
Our company got behind the Momentum Jonesboro campaign and felt it was critical for companies like us to take a leadership role in the campaign, and our intent is to keep that going forward.
We need to put Jonesboro on the map, on the national map, in order to be able to recruit people, in order to be able to retain people, to have them think about Northeast Arkansas as a destination, a place to have a career, a place to raise a family, and a place to open a business, start a business. Expand a business. I think Momentum Jonesboro is critically important in helping that to happen.
We must continue to lengthen the strides we made 5 years ago, or risk falling behind if we do not continue to fully fund our aggressive and proven approach to economic development.
The last campaign that we had and the job creation that's happened over the last 5 years or so has been tremendous. So to me that says let's do it again and do it bigger.
You know, the results speak for themselves. I think we owe it to the community today and the community of tomorrow to really build off of what we did the first time and to keep going forward.
We are always with our foot on the gas. As a community, we want to continue to move forward. When we selected the name Momentum Jonesboro for our first initial campaign to help us with our first 5-year strategic plan, that was not by mistake. As a community, you have momentum, and that momentum propels you forward.
Over the last 5 years, we have celebrated. We have cooperated. We have overcome. All building to this. This is our moment. This is Momentum Jonesboro 2.0.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning, everyone, and we're so pleased to have you join us today for this important conversation. As you can see, we've been fortunate and blessed to have a lot of progress over the last 5 years, and that doesn't happen by chance. It happens because of everyone in this room pulling together and moving this community forward. So we've continued to build that foundation. We're at the point now we want to take it a next step to the next level at this point in time. And so your board, JU Board, has been working actively over the last several months to craft a strategic plan with the input of many throughout this community, and you'll see some of the participants and stakeholders that were part of that process. We're thrilled today to have Amy Holloway with us. Many of you may recall Amy was our keynote speaker at our 2020 JU banquet. In addition, Amy was instrumental in crafting and assisting us to develop our initial 5-year plan several years ago. So she is well respected in the industry. She is the principal and national director for economic services for Ernst & Young. Formerly, she was based in Austin. Now she lives in Asheville, North Carolina, and we're so thrilled to have her engaged with our community again. Today, she'll provide about 30 minutes of prepared remarks and slide deck of the research that was conducted, and then open that up for Q&A at the balance of this. So again, thank you for your efforts. Thank you for being here today, and we'll turn it over to Amy Holloway.
Everyone, good morning. It is good to be back here. I was just thinking on the way here, yesterday was my first time on an airplane since February 2020. And coming from a traveling consultant world where I was on the road every week, I'd say a lot has changed since that February 2020 trip. And do you know where that February 2020 trip was for me? Here in Jonesboro. So you guys are my bookends to the pandemic. And also some stuff has changed in our world. Just to let you know, when we led your first strategy, we were with Avalanche Consulting, a firm that I started back in 2005. 2005. Good grief, you guys. See, that's what happens with the COVID brain. But in March 2020, we were acquired by Ernst & Young, and my entire team joined the firm to lead its economic development practice. So that's where we are today, and it was just absolutely a pleasure and a thrill to be re-engaged by Jonesboro to lead your new Momentum 2.0 strategy. And that's what I want to cover with you today, just some of the highlights from that strategy and our research process. We're going to open it up for Q&A at the end also, because I want this to be interactive. It's really important that everyone in this room and all the stakeholders in this community understand the strategy, understand the research that went into it, and are prepared to help implement it. Because this takes a lot. This takes a village, right? It takes so many people to come in and help go bigger, make our community a more competitive location for businesses and for talent. That is not just the job of the team at Jonesboro Unlimited. That is the job of the entire community. So I want to start off today by giving you a little bit of a national perspective, what we're seeing as we're working with communities across the country as they're preparing to come out of the pandemic, taking advantages of the opportunities that have come out of that, and give you a little bit of insights into the planning process so you know where we're coming from and where these recommendations came from. Then I'm going to share the strategic framework with you, talk about how we can accelerate that momentum. I love whoever in the video said, let's go bigger. It's time to go bigger, and that's absolutely the case. And then we're going to open it up for Q&A. All right, we've got a battery running low up here. Thanks, Craig. All right. So let me start by giving you a little bit of perspective of what we are seeing nationally. For many places, and I want to know if this resonates with you all here also, but the pandemic actually intensified some challenges that our communities were already facing. So over, I'd say, the last 5 or 6 years of our work as economic development strategists, we started seeing topics related to, say, affordability or transportation mobility and topics like that coming to the surface in our economic development plans. Communities saying, well, we can't really completely succeed as an economy if we're leaving people behind, or if people can't afford housing, or if people are getting training for skills that aren't really relevant to our current and future employers. So our world in economic development became more and more holistic, and more topics were at the table when we were doing strategic planning. A lot of those challenges, I would even call them systemic issues that are difficult to tackle, just intensified as a result of the pandemic. In addition, we're seeing, especially over the last few months, many communities realizing that their own strategies need to be updated. Things have changed, right? Circumstances have changed. New opportunities have emerged. I'm an optimist, so I always look at the opportunities that come out of situations like this, but a lot of new opportunities have emerged. There have been an acceleration of trends in certain industries that allow communities, especially those with a traditionally strong base of manufacturing like Jonesboro, to jump in and help their companies embrace automation and the next generation of manufacturing and prepare talent for those jobs and really accelerate their focus on various industries. So we're working with a lot of communities right now on updating their targets. What that looks like from a strategic perspective is that, number one, communities are amplifying what I call the blocking and tackling of economic development, right? Getting out there, getting aggressive with business attraction, amplifying at home their efforts with expanding their existing industries and making sure that our existing companies have everything they need to grow and thrive. We're also seeing, which I also include in this blocking and tackling, communities amplifying their efforts around talent development. Talent development, building their talent pipeline, whether that's through attracting new people into their community to fill jobs, retaining the great workforce that they have in their community, the graduates from their local educational institutions, or doing what I consider to be the even harder work of rolling up your sleeves and helping individuals who are not participating in the workforce overcome their barriers, get the skills they need, and find employment. So again, that blocking and tackling of economic development, nationally, I'm seeing more and more communities. When I say amplify, I mean they're putting more resources to this. They're putting more people power. They're collaborating in a stronger way. They're putting more funding towards these initiatives. And also, third part of that blocking and tackling in the strategic planning work that we're doing now with communities is really elevating entrepreneurship and making sure that the individuals in their communities have a desire to start their own companies, have the network, the resources, and everything they need to do so. Great. Is that it, though? No. As I said earlier, we really look at economic development through a holistic lens. And those other topics that I consider to be really important to competitiveness, those other topics like, can folks find a home that's affordable and attainable? Can they find quality childcare so that they can go to work? Can they get to work? Is there transportation and mobility options for them? Is the economy equitable for everyone to be able to have a fair chance of participating in the economy? So we're seeing that strategies are emerging where communities are still focused on the blocking and tackling and even amplifying those efforts, but also adding to it, addressing those competitive issues and taking that to the next level. You guys ready to do that? It might feel like a lot, but that means that strategies like Momentum Jonesboro 2.0 are more important than ever. You have to know what your goals are, and as a community, know what your roles are in implementing. All right, so did that just happen behind my back while I was talking? Thanks, Craig. Good job. And this is an illustration of what I was talking about in terms of being more holistic. But as we were developing our approach to strategic planning over the last few years, we just started noting all the topics that were coming up in the rooms where we were talking about economic development strategy. And you can see there's just a myriad of topics: economic inclusion, quality of life, human health. We put human health on there before the pandemic, and boy, is that even more important than it ever has been. Industry momentum, small business vitality, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So when we enter a strategic planning process, we are thinking about all these topics and talking with people in the community and looking at data and listening and thinking, how do all these topics come into play into a cohesive strategy for this specific community, Jonesboro? Let me tell you a little bit about our strategic planning process, because I want you to understand what we've done to get to today, and that this wasn't a plan that my team and I and Mark and his team just sat down in a room and wrote in a day. These strategies are based on massive amounts of stakeholder input. I always say the process of developing a strategy is as important as the end result. So our process of strategic planning means that we get out in the community. We try to listen to a wide variety of perspectives from a diversity of stakeholders and really get to know what's top of mind for people today, what are the greatest opportunities that they see, and how can we build a strategy around that? How can we build ownership in that strategy as well? So our strategic planning process actually started back in December, and we've been working for the last 6 months, 7 months on the plan itself, which started with data analysis, competitive assessment, and benchmarking your community against others to see where your real strengths and challenges are. We got out and talked and listened to a lot of different people in the community. We created a competitive assessment, a document that summarized all of our research findings, and then we developed the strategy itself, starting with a vision, goals, tactics, and then what we consider to be some priority projects that if we all got behind could really accelerate our progress even more. Now, I mentioned stakeholder engagement, and I always have to congratulate. This happened in the first strategy, and it happened with this one also. I do think in my 25 years of doing economic development strategy that your community has the highest per capita survey response that I've ever seen. Almost 2,000 people from across Jonesboro participated in our survey. And we asked questions. How many of you participated? It's okay. Oh, awesome. Thank you very much. So you were among those 2,000 people. But as you know, we asked questions related to our economic strengths and challenges, aspirations of the community, how we grade our economic performance today. And then we provided an opportunity to share a lot of different comments. And we read every single comment that we got on that survey. We also led interviews and focus groups. We assembled a 15-member steering committee that we met with virtually 3 times during the strategic planning process, and we also met with the Jonesboro Unlimited Board on a number of occasions, all along sharing the findings that we had to date and then getting feedback on those and just kind of iterating along the way until we got to the point where we had a strategic framework that everyone was comfortable with. I was hoping people would go, woo-woo, when they saw the numbers in the video. You know, coming from, again, an outside perspective and seeing these numbers, I want to congratulate you. This is absolutely extraordinary. To accomplish this in 4 years, 4 years, is absolutely remarkable, and it's something that the community should be proud of. That's why we're building on momentum. We're not starting from scratch. We're not starting from a point of decline. We are building from a very strong position. 4,000 new jobs and $500 million, $500 million in capital investment in 4 years is unbelievable. That puts you on par with communities that are much larger than Jonesboro. Do you feel how great this is? And think about the investment that went into this. I would say that you have a very high return on investment from your economic development dollars, and you should be very proud of this. I want to see people applauding. I would cheer to that. Thank you, guys. And a lot of hard work went into this, not just from the Jonesboro Unlimited and Chamber team, but also from the entire community. This does not happen in a single room with a single group of people. This is everyone in the community working together to make this a more competitive location and also getting out and telling your story. And that's what we're going to ask you to do over the next 5 years as we move into our Momentum 2.0 strategy. So what is next? I'd like to share with you the framework for the 2.0 strategy, and I want to start by saying that this is a strategy that is building on the last strategy. We did not start from scratch. You did not just finish your 5-year goals from the last strategy and check the box and scratch them off the paper and say we're done with those. We set forth very ambitious goals in your last strategy, and we're going to continue the momentum and amplify those goals. So we did not start from scratch, right? This is building on our great momentum that we've already put into action. So I want to share with you the 4 goals of the 2.0 strategy, starting with amplifying business growth and innovation. This is your blocking and tackling. This is the role of an economic development initiative. And a lot goes into the ability to do this, but you're going to see in this goal strategies related to getting out and attracting more business investment into the community, as well as assisting entrepreneurs and expanding our existing businesses. And you're also going to see that these goals are not in a vacuum. They are not siloed. Every one of these goals depends on the other goals to take place, and they all reinforce each other. So goal number 2 relates to talent and workforce development. Now, speaking with the employers that are here in Jonesboro, we heard top of mind, no matter who we talk to, that workforce availability is a challenge, and there's an opportunity to strengthen that and amplify that so that we can make sure that our existing businesses can grow and that new companies can find the workers that they need. So this is a very important goal, and it's directly tied to goal number 1. The third goal has to do with advancing our infrastructure and improving our quality of life. So investing in our product and making sure that we have places for businesses to locate and expand in, as well as the type of community that's going to attract and retain the talent that we need for our businesses to grow. So there's recommendations related to quality of life and infrastructure in goal 3. And then the 4th goal is to continue to build our brand, to continue to build our national reputation as a destination for business and talent, and also market ourselves even more, which we've done a lot of good work in this arena, but again, we're taking it to the next level with this strategy. All right. So what I would like to do now is give a little more detail on each of these. And what I'll do is for every goal, I'm going to go very quickly over the strategies, 4 or 5 strategies within each goal, and then I'm going to move into what we call accelerating momentum initiatives, or bold initiatives within our set of recommendations that give the entire community an opportunity to get involved and support. So for the first goal, business growth and retention, the focus is really on 4 things. 1 is to amplify our business attraction efforts, while also 2, working on diversifying our economy. The more diverse your economy is, that means the broader range of industry base that you have here, the more opportunities there will be for people to find employment and stay here, and also the higher the potential that your community will be resilient in the face of economic downturns or global pandemics and those types of things that happen. So diversification and recruitment, and then recruitment and expansion, and then the 3rd and 4th priorities have to do with how we reinforce and better connect our entrepreneurial infrastructure. With Arkansas State here and a number of other assets in your community, we see a real opportunity for this to be an entrepreneurial hotbed for your region. We really do. And we think that will also help reinforce the quality of life and the energy and the vibrancy of the community that will also help retain and attract people. The 4th priority within this is to support the development very specifically of an Arkansas State innovation campus to serve as a hub for technology. I believe efforts around this are already underway. We wanted the strategy to reflect how important we think this is to future economic development and the future of entrepreneurship and innovation in the community. So some of the initiatives, and these aren't all of the initiatives in the strategy because the strategy has a lot of ideas and tactics, but I just wanted to highlight a few. initiatives that we're encouraging you to pursue. One is that expanded business development activities, expanding our outreach to consultants, to site consultants, to business decision makers in our target industries. And this is, honestly, it's a matter of resourcing and making sure that we've got the bandwidth required to get out there and build our relationships with those consultants and companies in the face of competition and all the other communities that are going after these companies and trying to attract them to their communities. We also think there's an opportunity to think internationally over the next 5 years and do a little bit of campaigning around attracting foreign direct investment into Jonesboro. We're seeing a lot of that activity overall. There's a lot of, I'd say, reshoring potential out there right now, and we're seeing a lot of movement by companies looking for US locations. Jonesboro should be there at the table telling these companies why this is a great location for their companies. We also have developed within the strategy, you'll see a new initiative we're calling Jump Start Jonesboro. And that is an initiative, kind of a comprehensive initiative around supporting our entrepreneurial ecosystem, better connecting our entrepreneurs and making sure they have the resources they need here in the community to grow and that we don't lose them and that we attract even more entrepreneurs here. And then, as I mentioned, the ASU Innovation Campus, developing a task force to help guide that, and going on the road and looking at really great, effective innovation campuses at other universities across the country. So I hope this is getting you excited. Can you see your role in this? I mean, there are actually things that you all can do to implement this strategy. The second goal has to do with talent and workforce development, as I mentioned, and the strategies around talent and workforce development, first of all, have to do with developing a real concerted talent attraction marketing campaign and connecting that with a social media campaign, a digital campaign, a website to make sure that people looking for a location, perhaps they're graduates of your local education institutions, maybe they grew up here and they're interested in coming home, that they know that you're interested in them coming home and they can see all of the great assets there are here for themselves and their families. Also fostering more opportunities for students to have work-based learning, apprenticeships and internships, expanding and enhancing our STEM-related learning opportunities, and also piloting some industry-specific leadership development programs for young professionals. We mentioned up here specifically the banking and financial services industry, but that could be applied to other industries. You think about a leadership, for example, a leadership Jonesboro program, but something more focused on industry, the specific industry, and getting these young professionals linked in and connected with leaders in the field to learn from. I covered some of these already, but here are some Accelerate Momentum initiatives. This talent attraction website and social media campaign, we can provide you with examples of how other communities are doing this, but these are really robust, fun, lively campaigns focused at attracting talent back to your community, working with employers on expanding the great work-based learning opportunities that are already in place in many cases, developing a campaign, this would be an internal campaign, to raise awareness of STEM-related career opportunities, especially among our students and their parents in the community. Expanding our Manufacturing Day initiative, which is very successful, but why not expand that kind of event to include other sectors, technology and fields and careers and business as well. And then also developing some leadership programs and training programs around developing individuals' softer skills and leadership competencies. All right, the third goal related to quality of life and infrastructure. So this focuses on making sure that we've got the industrial parks and business space that companies need, extending a quality of life amenity, but extending our hike and bike trails around the community to be even better connected. Developing a comprehensive transportation and mobility strategy that would be longer focused and making sure that we are all on the same page as to what those investments should be and what our priorities are. And then developing a marquee quality of life amenity or amenities, something to even further our attractiveness to talent and the companies that employ them. So some of those initiatives related to the priorities that I just shared, establishing an annual fund for improving our business parks and industrial parks, creating a space, we're calling it a space right now, for the Jumpstart Jonesboro initiative, so a landing pad for entrepreneurs. This could be an incubator, an accelerator, co-working space. I even have communities now that are really looking more at virtual spaces for their entrepreneurial community, but really just a hub where folks can get together who are entrepreneurial, connect with each other, and connect to resources. Enhancing the accessibility of JET, of the bus system, and other local transportation options to make sure people can get around, to do fun things in Jonesboro, get to work as well. Determining the feasibility and improvements needed to expand and improve commercial air service. I think that that's a priority. I know that this isn't this is not an overnight initiative, of course. We worked with communities that have spent, a decade or 10, 15 years on doing this, but you've got to make it a priority and continue to work on it to make sure that that happens over time. And then we're suggesting that the community convene a task force to evaluate some marquee quality of life amenities. I'll be honest with you, through the strategic planning process, a lot of great ideas came up that we would consider, we're calling marquee quality of life amenities. That could be things like a concert venue or outdoor recreation center, or lots of ideas came up during our process, and we weren't really in a position to vet every one of those ideas, but we do think that the more you can have in terms of a marquee amenity that really puts you guys on the map, it'll enhance your brand and it'll also enhance your ability to attract talent. I was joking with Mark this morning as I was coming over here. I stayed in the Embassy Suites last night at the conference center, and looking back at our 1.0 strategy, that was a recommendation in that plan, was to have a conference center, and you guys accomplished that in pretty short order. That's what I'm talking about when I say marquee amenity, something else like that. And you've got a proven record that you're able to get initiatives like that that are sizable off the ground. And then finally, the last goal has to do with marketing and branding. This is another, do not let your foot off the gas pedal when it comes to marketing and branding. You've accomplished a lot over the last 5 years, but there's more to accomplish. I want to be able to go to Chicago or New York or somewhere on the West Coast or anywhere in the country and say, hey, I just got back from Jonesboro. And everyone says, oh, I know where that is. Oh, Jonesboro is the place where ... right? So I think we have a little ways to go to get there. I think the stronger your brand is, it's just going to reinforce your economic development initiative and make Jonesboro an even more top-of-mind location for businesses. And some Accelerate Momentum initiatives around marketing and branding is first, engaging a creative agency and developing a marketing and branding task force of leaders from across the community and folks from the creative services sector to come together and really identify what Jonesboro's brand essence is. So a brand essence is beyond just what our logo is or what photos we use or our graphic identity. The brand essence is really defining what makes up this community, what's at our heart, what differentiates us from other communities out there. And I know it sounds a little soft and squishy, but I've worked with communities across the country that really take time to identify what is our brand essence and then convey that brand essence in all marketing activities, whether we're communicating to our own local residents or to businesses and talent from around the world. That message and that brand should be conveyed in a consistent way, in a cohesive way across many different organizations here in the community. We also love the idea of developing what we're calling an Everyday Ambassadors campaign. So getting our local residents engaged in telling Jonesboro's story and arming them with marketing tools to go out and share their own experiences and why they love Jonesboro with others in their own network across the country, elsewhere. You guys know that I'm from Austin, Texas originally. I always have to say this, but I always attribute Austin's success to the fact that the entire community, I'd say, drinks the Kool-Aid, the Austin Kool-Aid. You know, that is a community that's very proud of itself and brags about itself quite a bit. And I think that that message over time has just resonated outwardly until Austin's kind of developed this cool factor, and it's doing very well. I'm not saying you're going to be in Austin. Austin knows what its brand essence is, and that's that. What is Jonesboro, and how do we get individuals in our community armed with the tools they need to tell our story and reinforce that message? So with that, I do want to open it up for question and answer. So those were the 4 goals and just some top line recommendations within the strategy. Again, there's much more in the strategy, and I believe you'll have access to at least an executive summary of that so you can see the more details in that. But I do want to say a few things about your next steps. So again, this strategy builds on the great work that went into the last strategy and all the momentum that you have. I want to say also that from a national perspective, your competitors, other economic development initiatives across the South, across the country, are also working hard to amplify their efforts. And there's a lot of things at play. There's a lot of pent-up demand. The economy is projected by many sources to grow at 6 to 8% over the next year or two. So we're seeing a lot of momentum out there in the economy, and economic development and efforts are getting out and trying their best to attract that investment to their communities. So competition is pretty high right now, which should give you extra motivation to accelerate momentum and invest in economic development. And again, as I said, this holistic perspective is really important when you're thinking about economic development. Economic development is no longer just about going out and attracting companies into your community. It's about working together as a whole across many different facets of your economy to make sure that we're as competitive as possible and as sustainable as possible for the long run. And just want to conclude by saying, you guys are starting from a place of strength, right? 4,000 new jobs over 4 years, $500 million worth investment. This is a great starting point, right? You're not in a declining position. You're not even at a still position. You are moving forward, and we just need to put, I think, more fuel and then take more energy behind this to get this to the next level and go bigger, as we heard on the video. So thank you very much. I'm going to open it up to Q&A, and I think Mark and Chris are also available to answer questions if anything comes up. Thank you, guys. And you don't be shy. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned the target industries, and I'm familiar with the target industries that were in the first plan. Have any of those changed, and if so, what were the changes?
The question is if any of the target industries from the first plan have changed as a result of this plan, and I'm going to hand it over to Mark to answer that question. Yeah, come on up, Mark.
Sherry, the easy answer is no. They've been refined just a little bit. Last time we really focused on 5 key industry sectors. We continue to do that, although we've merged a couple together. So those important areas of advanced manufacturing, logistics, healthcare, I'm on the spot here, and programs like, hang on a second, ag business are continue to be part of that. We've kind of merged ag business and advanced manufacturing together, so there'll be one less as part of our strategic plan, but all of them, as we've seen progress, will continue to be part of this new plan moving forward. You bet.
Any other questions?
So, Amy, you noted common theme from the focus groups and the interviews was the pressure around the need for talent, for workforce, at all levels, in my experience, based upon my interactions with my company this strategy is going to help improve Jonesboro's status in retaining and attracting more people to fill these jobs that most of us in this room today are having a hard time doing. And, you know, were there best practices that you've provided in here that are going to set us up to succeed?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So you heard me loudly and clearly. That came out in all of our focus groups and interviews, especially with employers. The strategy provides a number of ways to help fill the talent pipeline. The first is the attraction. So having a more concerted talent attraction and recruitment campaign, and targeting that campaign particularly around individuals with roots in Jonesboro that have graduated from our colleges, who have family here, who grew up here, that type of thing. And we have a series of recommendations around what that campaign could look like, and how targeted it could be in terms of where to go, right? This is a big world. Where do you go? Who do you talk to? What do you say? What tools are needed to put in place for a campaign like that? So that's one leg of the talent equation. The second is just recommendations around retaining the talent that we're producing and making sure that they don't have to go elsewhere to find jobs after they graduate, for example. I think that's, as I said, these goals are very tied together. So the more diversification we can have in our job base, the more likely it is that we'll retain individuals and grow our population too. And then the third part is, and I said this earlier, the rolling up the sleeves, but the actual workforce development work that isn't, these things don't happen overnight, but the important work that our workforce developers and educators are doing in terms of aligning the training and education programs that they have in place, making sure that they're working with employers, those are synced up with the employer needs, and also getting into our communities and assisting those who have encountered some kind of barrier to participating in the workforce, whether it's childcare, transportation, other barriers, even working with a nonprofit community to help individuals. So, that's kind of your workforce development plan in a summary. But there's obviously a lot more to it once you get into the strategy. Is that helpful? Yeah. Any other questions? Are you guys ready to implement this plan? Yeah, I know you are, and I know that I always have to say this. This requires a lot of collaboration, and we'll look to all of you to participate in this. And hopefully in this presentation, you've seen something that you as an individual or your organization can get involved with that can be exciting, and that 5 years from now, when hopefully I'm back here to give a presentation and we're not wearing masks, at that time that we're celebrating another round of great success and preparing for our next strategies. So thank you. Yes, sir.
You made a comment about utilizing these CARES Act monies and ARP monies in an effective way. Have you got any perspective of what you have seen other communities do, or what they're considering that maybe ought to help us, develop some thoughts for where we should go?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that funding, and in some cases with the ARP funding, it's a little too early to see the impact of those dollars being expended. A lot of the counties and cities that we work with are still determining, first of all, how much they need to kind of steady their own fiscal situation as a government. Second, how do you determine the highest and best use of those funds and do something with those dollars that's going to make a big impact in the community? So right now, in our experience, even over the last few weeks, we're starting to see communities come out and requesting for assistance with their funding strategies. The ARP funds, I don't want to go into too much technical detail but the ARP funds have a longer runway in terms of deciding what to spend on, spending them, and finishing or spending all of the dollars than we had with CARES. CARES was just a year. ARPA is a 4 or 5 year runway. So a lot of communities are in the kind of starting places of strategy with those now, which we encourage, of course. Let's make sure that we're really thinking strategically about the impact these funds can have in our community. Is that helpful? Mark, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Any other questions? Let's give Amy another round of applause for
Thank you.
all of her work.
Thanks, Mike.
You guys see now why we selected Amy and her team as our consulting group. They did a tremendous job on our first strategic plan and have continued to do so on this strategic plan. So Amy, thank you so much for you and all your colleagues' work. Also want to say thank you to each of you. We wouldn't have had the success over the last 5 years without your support, without your work, without your skills, without your wisdom, without your feedback. And so on behalf of the Jonesboro Unlimited Board of Directors and on behalf of our community, thank you to all of our leaders that are in the room today. And again, can't say enough about what you do for us and how you help us. So thank you so much for all that you do. And most importantly, what you will continue to do. As Amy said, the next 5 years is going to be awesome, and we've got a lot to look forward to. We're excited to continue to ride this wave of momentum into the next 5 years, and with your help, we'll certainly do that. We appreciate you being here today. If you have any questions or comments afterwards, please feel free to stick around for a few minutes, and Amy will be here for just a little bit as well. And then also Mr. Barber will be available if you have any questions as well. Thank you so much. We hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.